This whole quarantine and self-isolation period has been a once-in-a-lifetime type experience. And if you're like me, having to still find ways to stay motivated and productive enough to complete my classes has been a struggle. In this video, I'll talk about 10 quick tips to stay motivated and productive during this time. I've tried to come up with my top 10 reasons why I think I've been able to maintain the mental energy needed to balance finishing up my last year of aerospace engineering at MIT, working as a founding member of an up-and-coming tech startup, and continuing to grow this channel on YouTube. This whole situation is really tough, and we just have to do our best to keep pushing forward. We have to stay safe, and for students out there, we have to continue to learn and continue to progress in our academics. Huge shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's get right into it. The first 5 tips I will talk about are tips that I think anyone could take right now. And the last 5 are 5 tips specifically that I've used myself to really continue to stay motivated and productive. So make sure to stick around for the entire video to hear all of them. So my first tip is to stay organized. Right now, you're not physically on campus, so you're not physically walking around to various classes, reminding you where to be at different moments. Your brain doesn't have the usual triggers to tell you that you're supposed to be somewhere. And if you're like me, you have an extra level of confusion added if you're in a different time zone. Everything could just be difficult to keep track of, whether it's office hours, recitations, meetings, or classes themselves. So however you keep track of things, the only way to stay on top of everything is to stay organized. For me, I do this in a couple of ways. First of all, every night I mentally break down everything that I need to do the next day. Breaking down everything usually eases stress because if I can reasonably break everything down into conservative portions of time, the tasks seem a lot more manageable. And the fact that I'm thinking about these tasks the night before just keeps everything working in my head. I couple this mental roadmap with Google Calendar and will put meetings that I absolutely cannot miss there so that I will be reminded 10 minutes before. However you do your organizing, whether it's through Google Calendar, to-do lists, or just mental breakdowns, staying organized is the first step to staying productive because there are tangible action plans. My next tip is to become more willing to do the little things in the moment. Let me explain. Throughout the day, there are a bunch of little tasks that need to be done that might seem inconvenient or a nuisance at the time. These include things like cleaning your workspace, washing the dishes, or doing the laundry. And I say that when these things come up, you should just do them as soon as possible. This way, these smaller tasks don't combine into one more difficult and overwhelming task. In the process, your mind will become more free because you will feel as if you're making some sort of progress. For myself, doing these otherwise mindless productive tasks also give my mind some time to think through action plans to tackle my other tasks like class projects, assignments, or work-related tasks. As you bang out these smaller tasks, you'll feel a lot better because you're actually making some sort of progress, and you'll have more mental energy and free time later in the day. My third tip is to utilize the resources that should very much still be there. You may all be remote learning right now, but I guarantee you that there are staff members at that university or those specific classes where they're just itching to help you. You just have to reach out. There are probably still office hours, TAs on call, and potential meetings with your professors. I understand that it's going to be a bit of a different type of a scenario where there aren't going to be people already ready to ask questions and answer questions, but I think putting yourself out there will actually benefit you in the short and long term because you'll be able to ease the stress for that assignment or project that's really bothering you at that moment. Just because you're in isolation doesn't mean you have to feel isolated. Each school hires specific people where their jobs are to help you out, and you'll be surprised with how accommodating they are during these times. They want to help, but they have to know that you need help, so you have to reach out. Personally, I've already gotten assignments extended and extra help from TAs, so just ask. My fourth tip is to work with your friends. If you're like me, you like to do work with people around. Whether it was at our on-campus Dunkin' Donuts or our various study spaces and lounges, I typically did work in environments with other people doing work. This allows me to put myself in a work mindset because it's a lot easier to stay motivated when you see other people around you that are doing work as well. With social distancing, this has become much more challenging to do, but what I've done and seen done are remote work sessions. If you typically work with someone for a specific class, you can hop onto a Zoom call and work through different problems together. You'll be surprised at the various collaboration tools that Zoom provides, like the ability to AirPlay your iPad screen into the Zoom call, or the ability to annotate another person's screen. Even if you're working on completely different tasks, just having someone else on that call could prove to be very beneficial because, as I've said before, just seeing other people working motivates you to work more. I call this doing work in solidarity, and whenever you need that quick mental break, you could always just spark up a conversation just like you would if you weren't in isolation. Overall, I've seen that these situations just help a lot in terms of increasing productivity. My fifth tip revolves around the fact that many of us have more time on our hands. I feel like a big aspect of motivation is having something to look on in terms of progress to actually keep you going. For many circumstances, a lack of motivation comes from a lack of progress. So my fifth tip is to develop a new skill or enhance an old one. Having something to look forward to in terms of progress and positivity outside of your academics will allow you to stay motivated in moments where your academics could feel very stagnant. So if you used to be into photography, go pick up your camera and start shooting pictures again. Or if you've never gotten the chance to learn something specific in the past, now is the best time to do so. For myself, this YouTube channel is a creative outlet where I'm able to see progress in another aspect of my life. And I like to learn new things like color grading, staging, and storytelling, all of which that I can learn on Skillshare, the proud sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community where you can learn from thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, entrepreneurship, and so much more. These lessons can help you stay inspired, express yourself, and introduce you to a community of millions. If you're worried about the future, a creative challenge or productivity class may offer helpful structure for setting small goals where ultimately you could feel a sense of accomplishment. I recommend classes like Real Productivity, How to Build Habits That Last, and Going Freelance, Building and Branding Your Own Success. Personally, I've really enjoyed the class Storytelling Through Film, How to Create Engaging Video for YouTube by Thomas Dyer, the video editor behind the YouTube channel Yes Theory. I've learned ways to keep an audience engaged throughout an entire story I'm trying to convey. The classes are curated specifically for learning, and Skillshare is always launching new premium classes so you can continue to learn. The first 1,000 subscribers that click the link down in the description below will get 2 months free premium membership so you can explore your creativity. My sixth tip is to stay active. For me, a healthier body leads to a healthier mind. As I put more stress on myself with the different ventures and commitments that I am a part of, I have to always ensure that I work out in order to sweat my stress off. I've mentioned this in a video that I will link here, but essentially, your stress needs a way to physically leave your body, whether through sweat or through tears. Lockdown makes the day-to-day even more stagnant because you're not even walking between classes or to get lunch. You're just sitting at home. And also you will not have access to an actual gym. The thing is that there are workouts for any constraint you may have, even if you don't want to go outside for a run. There are completely bodyweight exercises, Zumba sessions, or if you have resistance bands, there are exercises that use those too. And these are all available on YouTube. Something as simple as working out 10 to 20 minutes every other day could prove to be very positive in terms of increasing your productivity and also giving yourself another avenue to see some good progress being made. My seventh tip is to be willing to take lazy days. And by this, I mean you shouldn't be hard on yourself if there's a day or two where you just aren't productive. I want to stress that your quarantine productivity levels aren't indicative of the person you are. You got up to this point and have accomplished everything that you have accomplished up until this point when there wasn't a worldwide crisis. So it is okay that your productivity and motivation has taken a dip. Take those days to really just care about your own physical and mental well-being. Who cares if you spend all day napping or playing video games? If that's what's going to get you through that day, so be it. You just have to make sure that you take into account my other tips so that those lazy days don't turn into unrecoverable lazy weeks or months. These lazy days are needed, so don't feel bad if you have them. This is a difficult time for everybody. My eighth tip is to allow time to call the people that you care about the most. I'm personally living here in Alabama for the startup with Timmy, and we're both away from both our classmates and our families. Even if school and work gets to be a lot, I still try to make conscious efforts to call my family and let them into the loop. I make sure to also call Michelle and my boys from school to catch up with what they're up to in these quarantine times as well. As I mentioned before, just because you're in isolation doesn't mean you have to feel isolated. Be open to reach out to people and set up times to get on a call and catch up. The reconnecting could go a long way in terms of keeping your morale high so that you can stay motivated and you can stay productive as we finish off these times of lockdown. My 9th tip is to sleep and wake up at consistent times. I'm not saying wake up early every day because some people are morning people and some people are night people, and going against what your body actually prefers could be counterproductive. So don't do that. For example, I'm a night person, so I typically sleep from around 3 to around 9 every day, and that has worked for basically most of my MIT career. So whether you're sleeping 6 hours a night or 9 hours a night, or whether you're sleeping at 11 p.m. or 4 a.m., just keeping a consistent schedule will help you from feeling groggy in the morning. Needless to say, a less groggy you will most definitely be a more productive you. Okay, so I'm here on my last tip now, and that's simply to keep everything in perspective. I know it's easy to get down on yourself because you're not being your most productive self right now, and you're unmotivated, and all of these things that are just seem very negative right now. I've definitely felt that for moments, but what's helped me to keep pushing forward has been to just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. At the end of the day, your health should come first. That's why everyone is on lockdown and staying inside, so that we can keep each other safe physically. But we all have to ensure that we also try to keep ourselves mentally healthy as well. This whole situation will pass, and although we will have this new normal that we would have to adapt to, things will get better. The whole reason I felt inclined to make this video was because I was starting to feel a lack of motivation to finish what seemed like a mountain of tasks in front of me. And I don't want it to seem like just because I have all these things put in place around me that I have unlimited levels of motivation and productivity where I could just unleash those 24/7, because I can't. So listing these tips are also a good mental checklist for myself to keep myself going through the various tasks that I put in place. I don't want to make this outro too long, so that's all I'm going to talk about today in this video. Stay safe out there, stay positive. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel because I'll have a lot more videos coming in the near future once school ends for sure. And make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date with what I'm doing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.